On this episode of On the Mic with Mike and Moose.
I'm talking about their age group. You don't have to have the flashy new stuff, um, to get ahead in life or to have a successful life. And I just, that's just a part of my life that I wish I could go back and not be so bitter about. What's up, everybody? This your boy Moose coming to you from right outside of Birmingham, Alabama.
And you got Mikey Mike coming to you all the way from Moore, Oklahoma, the tornado capital of the world. Thunder up.
Roll Tide.
Oh,
So,
no.
so Mike, man, we're really getting into this. This is what episode number 6.
Yep.
You know, what was it, 2 months ago when I came and said to you, hey, why don't we do a podcast? We kind of put everything down and I felt like we did it real quick, but here we are, man. We're moving right along. So, today our our subject is on working to have a car. Working to have a car. So, Mike and I are both in our mid 40s. We came of age really in the I guess Mike a little before me, probably early to mid 90s, and me more towards the later part of the 90s. And when I was coming up with some ideas for different topics we could talk about, um, one of the things that I always kind of made me upset. I wouldn't say upset, but like I noticed, I guess you could say, when I was growing up was I turned 16 years old, and my parents, I was supplied a car. It wasn't a new car, but it was a good, reliable car. But other than that, if I wanted to have that car, I had to do everything that went with it. If I wanted, especially, and even to the effect, if I wanted to like actually do something that required me to drive my car to do that, I had to pay for all that as well.
Oh, wow.
And um I guess really what where I'm getting at is working to have a car. I feel like I had a job I started working when I was 15 years old. I had a job not to save money for college. I had a job not to go buy the latest Michael Jordan tennis shoes.
Yeah.
I had a job that was there so I could buy my gas, so I could quit riding the cheese wagon, so I could maybe go out on a date, on a dinner and a movie, and or maybe go over to a friend's house, and also to pay my gas and to pay my health insurance. Not my health insurance, but my car insurance. And the reason I wanted to bring this up and talk about this was I remember being bitter about this because I had friends who were driving, 1997, you know, Chevy Silverados, or they were driving 1997 Mercedes or 1997. You got Jody in the room.
That was my son. Aaron.
Okay.
Yep.
So, but yeah.
I'll let
So
him wave to you. This is my son right here.
hello, congrats on your new job.
He said, congrats on your new job. Yep. I trained him right. He's a Gator fan.
Oh yeah, gotcha.
My daughter's the Alabama fan.
Your daughter's smart.
Uh-huh.
Takes after her mama.
Yes.
Anyway, so uh, you know, there was bitter. I mean, it wasn't like a end all be all, but we talk about in the church today about being bitter and how it's just unbecoming of somebody who is trying to be Christ-like.
Yeah.
And like I said, my car was not the newest car, but I mean, it was a '92 Nissan Sentra. It was gold or kind of a metallic gold, I guess you could say. It was not like a flashy, yellow car. It was that metallic gold, and I loved it. Little two-door sedan,
Yeah.
and I it took me a long time to understand that, and then I hear it from my friends all the time as well, because their kids act the same way that I did. I wanted that big pickup truck, or I wanted that SUV. But they weren't even called SUVs back then.
No, they
They were
didn't.
ORVs or whatever you wanted to call them. I wanted something like that, but I had a little two-door sedan. But here's what I didn't realize at the time: that little two-door sedan got 34 miles to gallon. That two-door sedan had a safety rating that was up, that was where it needed to be. Um, my insurance paying that as a 16-year-old boy in Alabama, where people don't know how to drive,
Oh yeah.
that was hard.
Yeah.
And gas money these days is nothing compared to. I mean, it was like, I remember it being 89 cents a gallon. Man, I wish it was 89 cents a gallon.
Oh yeah.
Go in there and fill up for $13, $14 or whatever.
I miss those days.
I do too. But as an adult, as we grow up, and I'm talking about the Emmas of the world. I'm talking about the Blazes of the world, the
Oh yeah.
kids who may think that they have to. And I'm not saying that they would be, but I'm talking about their age group. You don't have to have the flashy new stuff, um, to get ahead in life or to have a successful life. And I just, that's just a part of my life that I wish I could go back and not be so bitter about. But with that said, I'm 43 years old now. I'll be 44 in 6 months. And I have not borrowed money from my parents in 3 decades.
Oh wow.
Well, not quite 3 decades, about 2.5 decades. And I'm not talking about my parents hearing me talk about, I wanted to do this or whatever, and them saying, well, hey, if you want to do that, here's a couple extra bucks. I'm talking about going to my parents and saying, hey, I'm broke. Can you lend me $50? Can you lend me $100 to get me to my next paycheck? That's what I'm talking about. But what I feel like, the reason I brought that up and I want to talk about
Yeah.
this particular subject, is my parents instilled in me a sense of being independent. If I wanted to do this, I was going to have to make it happen. And I feel that work ethic allowed me to be who I am today, to where I don't want to ask for help. Now, sometimes that can be to the detriment. So sometimes you got to be humble. You got to sit there and say this. But as far as like being helped out, I don't. I want to do it for myself
Yeah.
and intrinsically. So
With me growing up, my first vehicle was a 1975 Plymouth Valiant that I purchased for $100. Um, it was pea green on the inside and outside. Um, and so while I didn't have to work a long time for it, I still had to work for it and had to work for the gas that went in it and had to work for the insurance that covered it. Um, it was, can we say this word, hoopty? Can we say that?
I drove a hoopty in college, so
Yeah,
I think you can.
I think we could say the word hoopty. I'm trying to make sure culturally that we don't get in trouble for that.
Well, I mean, my thing is, my in college I had a '78 Olds Cutlass,
Yeah.
and the time I was in college, that was big when Pimp My Ride was on MTV, and
Yes.
I wanted Exhibit so bad to come and get my car and Pimp My Ride.
Oh yeah. Yeah. No, I loved it. So only had that. Everybody called it the green tank because, bro, if somebody would have hit it, wouldn't have done anything to it. My second vehicle was a 1993 Ford Taurus. The those ones that look like the spaceship that started coming out, and that it was beige. No teenager wanted a beige 1993 Ford Taurus, but it was a car. And so, um, my dream vehicle that I wanted was a 1974 Bronco.
Like a K5.
Yeah, that's what I wanted. I think a lot of us guys wanted that.
We had a guy when I was in high school that he had actually ripped out the back seat and he put an actual love seat in the back of it, and
Oh
he would
wow.
drive without the. I'd ride in the back, and he'd drive without the top on. And we'd be
Yeah.
sitting in the couch. No seat belts. No seat belts.
Yeah, you didn't have to have that back then, really.
So you said you call it the green tank.
Yeah, green tank.
So it's funny because my old Cutlass, and of course I called it my old Cutlass Broham. I don't know if you've ever seen the Great White Hype, but that's what Jamie Foxx calls a Brom, the old Cutlass Brom. So I called it my Broham. It was copper brown with copper brown rims, and it had a vinyl top that was a beige, and we called that the brown bomb. So
Wow.
you had the green tank, and I had the brown bomb.
Yeah. And with that, this will make you all laugh. I was not that kid that went to the DMV right off the bat. I didn't get my permit till I was 16. I was in no hurry to drive. I just really wasn't. I don't know why. So, for my prom, and I know all of y'all are about to laugh, I could not drive me and my girlfriend to prom. My mom and dad, while they sat in the back of the vehicle of the green tank. Yeah, I know. Go ahead and laugh, y'all. Get your chuckles in. I went and picked Jody up from her house. She was 14. I was 16. And I went and picked her up, and my parents had to ride in the back.
You had
And
to have an adult. You had to have a licensed adult in there while you're driving, right?
yeah. Now, back then, that was optional per se. But with that, we drove, and then I hopped out, and they drove the vehicle home.
You had a valet, man. There you go. You got valet park without having to pay for it.
And I didn't get my license till I was closer to 17. And so, yeah, but I had to work my first jobby job. Ba, 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 ba. I'm loving it. You guessed it right. It would be
Nice.
Mickey D's. I went for Mickey D's. I started out, and drum roll, please, 4.75 an hour.
Nice.
That was before 5.15. I think it was 5.15 when you rolled around.
It was
Uh,
5.15 or 5.25. Yeah.
yeah. So 4.75. It just turned
Oh
from
no. When I started, it was 5.
yeah.
It was
So
5.
it
Yeah, then went to 5.25 or something like that. Yeah.
when I first, right before I got the job at Mickey D's, it was 4.25, and it got the 50-cent pay raise to 4.75. And so I remember when that happened, and I thought, man, I was making the money.
Now that I'm thinking about it, it was 4.75 when I started because I made $5 an hour,
Yep.
and I made over minimum wage, and then I got a pay bump to 5.15 when it went up to
Yep.
5.15.
Yep. And so I'm not proud of this, y'all. Between the age of 16, I had a couple little jobby jobs before I could work, right? Worked on a farm, stuff like that. But McDonald's when I was married, I had a total of 22 jobs. Um, yeah, I'm not proud of that. So I was the podhead stoner that if it interfered with my schedule, I would quit on the spot and walk out. But here's the deal: I never was without a job. Catch that work ethic. Even though I quit, I made sure I had another job before I quit. So my first job was McDonald's. Some of you will know what this uh, grocery store chain is, Winn-Dixie.
Worked
And
there.
yeah, I worked at Winn-Dixie. A lot of people don't remember these. I was a bag boy. You don't have bag boys
I
anymore.
was one of those. If you weren't bagging groceries, you were getting a shopping carts.
And that was before the motorized shopping cart thingy. That's when you had the stinking bungee cord or a rope that you put at the front buggy, if you remember, and you pulled it all the way back. And
I
that's how,
didn't even have that.
oh, wow.
Our we had an incline on the parking lot, so they stayed together.
Oh yeah, Beeham has all those inclines. I always remember that. Those little mountains over there, as I call them. But no, I had that, and I went from there. This is where I gained a lot of the weight, y'all. I went from there to Cinnabon.
I would gain a lot of weight there too.
I worked there 3 different separate times throughout that time. I was fired twice and rehired back twice, and so um, when Jody worked at I worked at Cinnabon. Jody worked at Popeyes. Not a good combination because that's when we ate and we ate and we ate and we ate. They would
Mhm.
send me home a pack, no lie, of a express pack of Cinnabons, 12 big Cinnabons a night. If you knew how many calories was in a Cinnabon, it's about
Yeah.
15, 1600. It's more than a Big Mac or a Whopper.
Well, I started off working. So we had a chain here called Big B.
Okay.
Big B was bought up by Revco, and within like a year or two of Revco buying Big B, CVS bought out Revco.
Oh yeah.
So I worked at Revco for a couple of years actually. My brother-in-law, for my stepsister that was living in New York, they had moved down to Birmingham, and he got me a job working there. So I ended up working CVS, and as a kid in the '90s who wanted to go to, I wanted to go with a football player, with a team to Hooters every Wednesday. I wanted to go on a date. I wanted to do all this stuff. I wanted to go see my dad in Tuscaloosa, which was an hour away.
Yep.
Um, I was working. I was playing football. My junior year of football, we would start practice at 1:30 in the afternoon. I get through 6:30. Same thing on Tuesday. Wednesday was 5:30, so everybody go to church. Thursday was 3:30, but I couldn't go to work after that because I had a game on Friday. Friday I play, get home at 10:30 at night, and then I would work 12 hours on Saturday. I'd work 9 to 9 shift at CVS, probably broke some laws, some child labor laws. And then on Sunday I would work an additional 8 hours. I worked 10 to 6. But I would go to Sunday school at like 8:30 or 9 o'clock, and I'd leave straight from there, so I wouldn't go into our service, but I was still going to church.
Wow.
But I remember being so tired that season. And what was even worse is that was when they started implementing, if you committed a penalty on Friday night, you had to be at the stadium at 7 a.m. on Saturday morning. And you had to run 2 stadiums for every penalty yard you were assessed. So
Yeah.
if you got 15 penalty yards, you had to run 30 stadiums. And I had to do all this before I went to work for 12 hours.
Bro. Are you still tired to this day?
I am. I am. But
I
but
would
no,
be
but I
also.
just remember that's the kind of stuff that used to make me bitter.
Yeah.
And it shouldn't have, but I was learning a lesson. And we talk, I know we're getting close to time. We talk about how God prepares us sometimes for things that we really need to see. And I really think that was God preparing me to have a work ethic to get to where I am today.
Yeah.
And you just don't see it at the time. And I wish my parents could have just told me, Moose, Justin, that's my real name, you know, we can't afford this, but we can help you out. And they helped me out some.
Oh yeah.
But for the most part, I was on my own from the time I was 16 years old driving. And like I told you, 25, almost 30 years, I've not actually gone to my asked for a handout from my parents. And I know they appreciate that because I know people who were given everything like that. And guess what they're doing today? They're asking for handouts, or they're
Oh
going.
yeah.
I mean, they're and not saying everybody's like that, but I just felt like this was something we needed to talk about because we don't know who's going to be listening to this podcast. It could be some younger people. It could be some people under 20, 25, 30 that could benefit from this even today because they've got a full ride to, or they don't have a full ride, but their parents are paying for their college
Yeah.
and stuff like that. And then I just felt it was something that needed to be talked about.
Yeah. The thing is we see an entitlement,
Mm-hmm.
and without pointing out generations, I would say this: um, Gen Z, I've seen more of a work ethic in them. They remind me. I feel like it's kind of restarting. They
It's cyclical. It's like it runs in a cycle.
I believe Gen Z is a lot like the greatest generation type workers, the builders, um, because they like to work. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Gen Z, we like to work for the most part.
You mean Gen X?
Yeah, yeah, Gen X. That's me. Yeah, I'm trying to recategorize myself. No, Gen X. We like to work for the most part, like me, right now, because I had the greatest generation parents.
Mm-hmm.
Even right now, I work 3 different jobs right now,
Yeah.
and that's my speed, and I know it's not healthy, y'all. I know it, but that's who I am, and I know eventually I'm going to have to slow down.
Yeah.
But that's who I am because I don't want anybody to have to pay for me. I want to be able to say I earned this on my own,
Good deal.
and maybe that's wrong, but I think
No,
there's a good balance.
I don't fault you for it. So, you know, people, everybody's going to grow up differently. You know, we're all born into different situations, but I feel like I didn't have anybody that I could relate to when I was growing up, and now that I see the benefits that I had from doing being brought up the way I was brought up, I want to be able to put you know, at least put it out there in case somebody ever runs across it. Like, you know, oh my gosh, I'm so oppressed, or I'm so, you know, I'm having to do all this stuff. Well, guess what? Those of us that had to do it beforehand. We turned out fine.
Oh yeah,
You
we
know,
were
and I
talking
think,
about this at church this morning. Uh, there's been some people that have needed help recently, and we believe in helping people. But we have this saying: we believe in giving a hand up and not a handout.
hmm
We want to help someone get out of their situation, and there was somebody we had to say no about that was needing some financial, and one of the board members said, "Well, how are they going to make it?" And I said it, and someone else said this too. Well, they'll find a way. And you could tell it didn't make them mad, but they were worried about the person, and they said, "Well, that's kind of cold." It's really not cold because I think we've all had to find a way,
hmm
and sometimes finding the way creates innovation.
right.
I had to when we couldn't make it, bro. You remember this? Maybe you didn't. I had to roll quarters, I had to roll pennies, I had to roll dimes, I had to roll nickels.
I still do.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying. And then you go to the gas station, you're like, here you go.
But you know what? I will not go to Coinstar because they take 9%.
That's messed up.
They take the sales tax from that.
Hmm.
And I worked too hard rolling those pennies and rolling those quarters, rolling those nickels and those dimes to get 9% taken off of every dollar.
Bro, there's a thing you can put in the actual sleeve now that will help you. We had to put our finger at the bottom of it like this and put it in and
Mm-hmm.
put it in that way. We didn't have no little counter. We didn't have any little graph thing. We had to count that mess. And
Yeah, I agree.
then
That's
here, you ready? We took it from there and we would put it in a Maxwell or a Folgers can. That would be our bank. You know what I'm talking about.
yeah. I've got a big oversized Coke bottle somewhere in this room that I'm in. That's what I keep it in now. So
We would always put it beside. This would tell you that I was a pothead. We'd put it right beside the incense burner tray thing. Uh,
I got you. I was, I luckily I can say I never did that. So
praise God. I'm not glorying in that, y'all. I'm just saying that's where I was.
I understand. Well, look, man, we're running up on time. You want to kind of let everybody know what they can do in order to keep in touch with us?
Yeah. Thank you for watching us today on the mic with Mike and Moose. If you would like to stay in contact with us, connected to us, you can go on all these different platforms. Podbean, Apple, also on YouTube, and we have our own Facebook as well and Instagram. You can look for On the Mic with Mike and Moose. When you search us, you'll be able to see our beautiful faces. If Moose will allow his and not show the actual Moose logo. And sometimes you'll see either or. So, but if you see it, know that that's us. And we would love to have you a part. Also, we have a Discord called Rooted. That's not my Discord, that's our Discord. And it's our faith family over there. And we drop these things every Friday at 10 a.m. Central. So make sure you got that set up. Make sure that it goes ahead and downloads. And we're so thankful for that. We're not doing this to get revenue. We're doing this to bless you. So thank you. And we appreciate you. So I hope you have a good day.
Yep. And just want to let everybody know I'm praying for you.
What?
Take care. God bless.